The middle of your book sucks. Every writer knows the feeling. You start your book with enthusiasm and drive, words flow effortlessly as you build your world and introduce your characters. But then you hit the middle, and suddenly, bam, the momentum stops like a train that's jumped its tracks. The excitement fades, and the once clear path to the end becomes foggy. This is the dreaded sagging middle, a common challenge in the writing process. But fear not. With the right strategies and mindset, you can power through this tough spot and bring your story to a satisfying conclusion. I'm the author of The Secret to Writing Your First Book, The Essential Guide, and today we're going to talk about the sagging middle. Now, the middle of your book is hard. I know I struggle with writing the middles of my book, and it's not easy. Before we get into some tips on how to improve your sagging middle, let's discuss what middles are designed to do. The middle of your book serves as the bridge between the introduction and the climax. Now, I know this may seem obvious, but just hear me out. It's a critical section where character development, plot progression, and thematic depth are built. However, it's easy to fall into the trap of filler content or slow pacing. To avoid this, focus on keeping the middle of your book just as compelling as the beginning and the end. So here are some tips you can do to prevent the middle of your book from sucking. Tip number 1, revisit your outline. Now, if you've read my book, The Secret to Writing Your First Book, you know how important I think outlines are. If your middle is sagging, it's probably because you didn't do your job in the outline phase. If you haven't read my book, then here are some tips. Your outline is crucial for several reasons. First, it connects you with the original version and vision and structure of your story. Outlines are not just blueprints, they're a foundation of your narrative, encapsulating the core events, character arcs, and thematic elements that you plan to explore. When you hit the sagging middle, it's easy to lose sight of these elements. Revisiting your outline can remind you of the direction and goals you initially set to achieve, and the motivations and clarity of your characters going forward. Start by thoroughly reviewing your existing outline. Look at the major plot points, character arcs, and key themes and scenes you initially mapped out. Reflect on how far you've come and how close your current draft aligns with the original plan. This can help you identify any deviations or gaps that might have contributed to the sagging middle. As you review your outline, pinpoint any missing links or undeveloped areas. The middle of your book often sags because the connections between the major plot elements are weak. Strengthening these links can create a more cohesive and engaging narrative. Next, you want to meet to reevaluate your character goals and motivations. Your character's goals and motivations drive the story forward, obviously. Use the outline to reassess these elements. Are your character's goals still compelling and clear? Do their motivations align with the plot's progression? Ensuring that your characters have strong, consistent motivations throughout the book can add momentum to the middle of your book. Now, tip number 2 is raise the stakes. Raising the stakes in your story is essential to maintaining reader engagement, especially during the middle of your books. Stakes refer to the risks your protagonists take and how these risks escalate and the tension and conflict within your story. When the stakes are high, your readers are more invested in the outcome, eager to see how your characters will navigate the challenges and obstacles that are thrown in their direction. Low stakes, on the other hand, can make your story feel flat and uneventful. So here are some strategies for raising the stakes in your book. So there's external threats, which are obstacles that come from outside the protagonist, such as an antagonist, natural disaster, or social pressures. To raise these stakes, think about how these external threats can be intensified. Perhaps a minor antagonist becomes more powerful, or a looming deadline becomes more urgent. On the other hand, we have internal conflicts, which arise within the protagonist and stem from the personal struggles, doubts, and fears that they might have. Deepening these internal conflicts can add layers of complexity to your character's journey. Tip number 3, complicate your protagonist's goal. Make your protagonist's goal more challenging by introducing unseen complications. These complications can come from both external or internal sources, which add depth to your narrative. Add unexpected hurdles that force your protagonist to adapt and change strategies. Or you can reveal hidden information. Introduce secrets or revelations that challenge the protagonist's understanding of the goals and the world around them. One thing you do is raise the personal stakes of your protagonist. Ensure that the protagonist's personal investment in the goal is high, making failure that much more costly. On to tip number 4, which is intensify relationships. The relationships between characters can significantly affect the stakes of your story. By complicating these relationships, you can add tension to your story. You can introduce disagreements or betrayals among the protagonist's allies, adding tension and uncertainty. Romantic relationships can add emotional stakes, especially if they are fraught with complications. Now, lastly, tip number 5, write through it. When you're stuck in the middle of your book, sometimes the best strategy is simply just to keep writing. This approach involves pushing past the difficult parts without getting bogged down by self-doubt or perfectionism. Embracing the first draft mentality is crucial here, and understanding that the first draft doesn't have to be perfect. Overcome any overthinking, and this can help you maintain momentum. Okay, that's all great, but how do you just write through it? Setting manageable daily writing goals can help you make constant progress. These goals can be based on word counts, time spent writing, or the completion of specific scenes. The key here is to make them achievable so you maintain a steady, constant pace without feeling overwhelmed. Now, remind yourself that it's okay for the first draft to be imperfect. Your primary goal here is just to get the story down on paper. You can always revise and refine later. This mindset shift can reduce pressure and allow your creativity to flow more freely. And if you're struggling with a particular scene or detail, use placeholders to keep forward momentum. This technique allows you to bypass difficult sections and maintain your writing flow. If the middle of your book is providing particularly challenging, try writing scenes around it or out of order. Work on parts of the story that excite you, even if they come later in the narrative. This can help you regain your enthusiasm and make it easier to connect the dots later. While taking breaks can help recharge your creative energy, be mindful about how you use them. Short, regular breaks can prevent burnout, but long breaks can also disrupt your momentum. Find a balance that works for you. The sagging middle is a common hurdle for writers, but it's not insurmountable. By revisiting your outline, raising the stakes, developing the subplots, focusing on character development, incorporating plot twists, changing the setting, writing through it, and taking breaks, you can navigate this challenging part of your book. Remember, every story has its ups and downs, and pushing through it, the difficult times, and pushing through the middle will bring you one step closer to a compelling and complete manuscript. That's it for this video. Hopefully you got some great tips. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.